You are 6 years old. A man knocked on your front door this morning. Not just any man, a pontifex, one of Rome's highest priests. He looked at you, looked at your teeth, checked that your hearing was fine, that you had no speech impediments, that both your parents were still alive. You passed. Congratulations. You are now property of Rome. Your mother is crying. Your father isn't, because this is technically an honor, the greatest honor a Roman family can receive, actually. Their daughter, chosen from the finest families in the city, selected to serve the goddess Vesta. People on the street will congratulate him for weeks. He will accept every single compliment. You don't fully understand what's happening. You just know that you're leaving home and that the man is already walking away and you're expected to follow. Your new home is the House of the Vestals, right in the heart of the Roman Forum. And look, objectively, it's beautiful. Marble floors, private gardens, your own room. By Roman standards, you are living better than most, better than senators' wives, better than women 10 times your age. But here's what nobody mentions when they talk about the privilege. You are 6, and you will not leave this life until you are 36. 30 years of service, minimum. Which means the next time you are truly free, free to marry, free to go where you want, free to just exist as a private person, you will be middle-aged by Roman standards, if you make it that long. That's not a metaphor. That's the actual contract. The training starts immediately, and it is, okay, I'll be fair, it is rigorous in a way that's almost impressive. You spend the first 10 years learning. The rituals, the prayers, the secret calendar, the correct way to prepare the molla salsa, which is the sacred salt cake used in basically every major Roman religious ceremony. You grind the grain yourself, you salt it yourself, you bake it yourself every single time. You tend the sacred flame of Vesta. This is your primary job. The flame cannot go out, ever. It has been burning continuously since, well, nobody is entirely sure since when, which is kind of the point. It represents Rome's eternal power, Rome's divine protection, Rome's everything. If the flame goes out on your watch, that's not a mistake. That's an omen. That's Rome potentially falling. And the punishment for letting it go out is a flogging. Not a warning, not a stern conversation. A flogging administered by the Pontifex Maximus himself. So you tend the flame, carefully, every day for 30 years. Now here's where it gets genuinely complicated, because being a Vestal comes with real power. Actual, documented, remarkable power for a woman in ancient Rome. You can free a condemned prisoner just by running either them on the street. Your word alone is enough to overturn a death sentence. Emperors included your name in their wills. Your testimony in court carried more weight than almost any man's. You had front row seats at the gladiatorial games, at the theater, at every major public event. When you traveled through Rome, a lictor walked ahead of you, the same escort given to senior magistrates. People stepped aside for you, literally moved out of your way in the street. And I want you to sit with that for a second, because it makes what comes next so much worse. All of that power, all of that status, all of that public reverence, it exists on one condition, one single condition that governs your entire existence from age 6 to 36. You stay a virgin. That's it. That's the whole deal. Rome will give you extraordinary power, extraordinary privilege, extraordinary respect. And in exchange, you give up your body, your romantic life, your ability to choose a partner, your ability to have children, your ability to experience basically the entire private emotional life that every other Roman woman takes for granted. For 30 years. And if you break that condition, if anyone even suspects you broke that condition, the punishment is not a flogging this time. They bury you alive. Let that land for a second. Not executed, not exiled, buried, alive, in a small underground chamber just outside the city walls with a small amount of food and water, enough that, technically, Rome didn't have the blood of a Vestal on their hands, the gods couldn't be angry because they didn't directly kill you, and then sealed inside. Left there. The last recorded live burial of a Vestal was under the Emperor Domitian in 91 AD. Her name was Cornelia. She maintained her innocence until the end. There is no record of anyone believing her. And the man she was accused of being with, he was flogged to death in the public forum, so it wasn't great for him either. But here's what really gets under my skin about all of this. The accusation alone was enough to destroy you. There was no real dirt enough proof. If a Vestal was suspected, if the flame went out at the wrong time, if Rome lost a battle and needed someone to blame, if there was a bad harvest and the priests needed an explanation, the suspicion could fall on you. Your chastity was Rome's luck. When Rome's luck ran out, someone had to be responsible. You could do everything right for 20 years and still end up in that chamber. And what about after? What happens when you survive all 30 years, tend the flame without incident, perform every ritual correctly, give your entire youth to a city that treats your purity as a public utility? You're free, technically. At 36, you're released from service and you can go live your life. Except, and this is the part that hits differently, most of them didn't. Most Vestals who completed their service stayed. Because what exactly do you go back to? Your parents are likely dead. Your siblings have their own families. You have no husband, no children, no domestic life you built. You have been a sacred institution your entire adult life, and now suddenly you're just a woman in Rome with no role. Some men did propose to them. Plutarch mentions this, and he also mentions that it was considered deeply bad luck to marry a former Vestal. The marriages, when they happened, were apparently not happy. There's a Roman saying, and I'm paraphrasing here, that marrying a Vestal brought nothing but misfortune. So your reward for 30 years of perfect service is a freedom that mostly just feels like being lost. I keep coming back to the 6-year-old at the door. She doesn't choose this. No Vestal ever chose this in any meaningful sense. You were selected, taken, inducted before you were old enough to understand the contract you were signing. By the time you understood it fully, you were already years in, already trained, already the sacred flame's keeper, already Rome's property in every way that mattered. And Rome loved you for it, genuinely. The Vestals were among the most respected figures in the entire empire. Their portraits were displayed publicly. Their names were honored. When a Vestal died of old age, it was a period of public mourning. Rome loved you the way people love a monument. Reverently, distantly, and completely on its own terms.